Greetings, everybody. We have gathered around the table again today, and we have a little bit of a treat for everyone who lives outside of the States. But first, once again, I'm going to harp on the fact that we're part of the little contest that Nick Shabazz is running. And if you would be so kind as to pop over to the link here to fill out the form and vote for us, as well as all the other channels that he's showcasing within this contest.
For sure. Give us the love and support you can, and check everybody else out. See what's out there. There's some really interesting channels out there. So
For sure.
Yeah, ultimately it just helps grow the community.
exactly.
Worst case
Indeed.
scenario, we improve ourselves. Best case scenario, hey, maybe we're featured. It'd be cool.
I kind of hope that we get to see that information at the end.
That would be nice for sure.
That'd
Yeah.
be really
Yeah.
cool.
I'm sure if we ask Shabazz nicely enough, he might share that info. If he doesn't, just do it already.
Yep.
For sure.
Indeed. But yeah, like I said, we're here for a little bit of a treat, but first our pocket dumps.
I'm calling out this guy. He's good to go first.
Yeah, that's
So
good. I am rocking the impressively sized toad.
Impressively.
It's small.
It's a box kind of.
It's very useful. I like it.
I'm not hating.
Yep.
It's an interesting little thing.
It's all the Warncliffe that you want, Paul.
Yep.
Not that kind. But I like that because of how weird it is.
Mhm.
I always forget. What's the blade steel?
VG10.
Okay, cool.
The Spyderco Go too.
Yeah,
And Paul.
It's me.
it's got to be circular. Come on.
You're a circle.
Your mama's a circle.
Ooh.
I got the Kaiser Feist with some schmutz on the blade.
Yep.
And it's going to stay there.
It's baby.
It's like a fancy leak.
It's like what a leak wishes it was.
One day a leak will grow up
And
be a
become
Kaiser
this.
Feist.
Yep.
Yeah, no. If you don't have one of these, if you're not on that front flipper train, try one out. They're fun.
Indeed. Different and unique.
It's pretty cool. All right, so I'm actually going to show you guys something that I made. So a little bit different. I make Ulus, and I recently made one in S35VN, so I've been carrying this guy, testing him out. It is chisel ground. I'm pretty happy with the performance so far.
It's a neat little piece for sure.
And you've done them in a couple different steels, 1095s and a couple different things, right? 01s and things like that.
01,
right?
154 CM, CPM 154, a couple of different steels, but so far this is my favorite.
Cool.
You need to start doing like Spyderco does, where colors of G10 will coordinate with your steel choices.
Not a bad idea.
I'm thinking of sticking with the forest green G10 for the S35,
Yeah,
and then
dig that,
1095
yeah.
gets the black.
Yep.
I like it. I like
Mhm.
it. Well, last but not least, I'm carrying the Benchmade 530. It's the REI exclusive.
Dennis has a fancy one.
Carbon fiber instead of plastic, and then S30 instead of 154 for this guy. There was only 175 of them made. Lucky enough to get my hands on one.
Nice and limited.
Yeah.
Kind of regret trading this to you.
It was
Like,
Jones.
Some
but
some fools let it
Sucker.
pass through their heads.
That's all right.
I knew he'd enjoy it more than me, and that's saying a lot because I really like that knife.
Yep.
And he got a fancy torrent out of the deal. That was
Yeah.
like bronze anodized fittings and stuff like that. It wasn't.
Nice.
It wasn't a factory one. He got a cool one. So.
Yep.
But yeah, rocking that today.
So, like I mentioned, we have a little bit of a treat, and it comes to us from Benchmade. It is their international dealers exclusive Pardue, the 531-1901.
Yeah, not even sure how many people have even heard that this variation exists.
Less than 300.
Yeah. Yeah, as Paul just mentioned there, this iteration is only a run of 300. It is using S90V for the blade and red G10 and red G10 for the handle.
Slightly less giggity, but a little bit of gig.
I like the
going on
red.
At least. Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
pretty giggity, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice combination indeed.
And it's thin enough that the light plays with it in interesting ways. Oh, man.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you do throw a flashlight on it or hit it through the sun or whatever, where the access lock is sitting, and even some on the back spaces where the holes are coming through.
I was going to say, you can see variation in color just looking at it.
Yeah, for sure.
So at an overall length of 7.42 inches, it would take about 100,000 mitochondria to equal the length of this guy.
Is this knife the powerhouse of Benchmade's lineup?
I don't know.
I hate you.
No, it is not, and you are wrong.
I asked a question. How is that wrong?
No.
You know why.
Yeah,
know
I do.
why.
And Joseph makes himself sad on tonight's episode.
And then weighing in at 2.1 ounces, it would take about 2 million of these knives to equal the weight of a blue whale.
Nice.
How much of a blue whale can we get for 300?
Yeah, because that's all they made of these guys. So yeah, we wouldn't be able to do the full conversion.
Maybe just a baby whale.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe a baby whale. Sad. You guys are mean.
Yeah, well.
It is a variation of the regular 531, which we are also fortunate to have one here to check out. So slight variation on the one that we know and love, but some nice upgrades as well as being a little more exclusive. You don't see this guy very much, and you probably won't, especially inside the U.S.
Yeah.
So showing a taste of what's out there for us who don't get to experience some of the exclusives that go on down for the U.S. alone.
For something like this, you'd literally have to like come up from the States and buy it in store kind of thing.
Almost in person,
Yeah.
yeah. You'd have to be.
And I really like that Benchmade does that because a lot of the time, any of the exclusive stuff rolls out to the American market first.
Oh, yeah.
And we barely get a crack at stuff. So
As a Canadian, it's kind of hard to get first crack at something where it's like, oh, all of them are sold in Michigan.
Yeah.
They're all gone. That REI exclusive is a good example where I was lucky enough to pick that up online at that time. So this is cool that this is guaranteed. If you're outside the U.S., there's a good chance you'll see it.
For sure.
And they did some interesting changes. Like you were giggling about that S90.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with that.
And especially from a 154 CM blade, I'm hoping even the normal iteration right now will get an upgrade to S30 like the Griptilians did.
Would be
I'd
nice.
like to see that.
That would be cool.
But from jumping from 154 to S90 definitely makes this particular knife stand out for
Just
sure.
a couple steps up.
Yeah. One or two.
No, that's a major jump. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
One of the other really nice features that they changed up there is using the little mini deep carry clip that they came out with this year, most notably seen on the bug outs.
Yeah.
I love that little clip.
And
I really like it.
they also use it on things like the Cebu.
Yep.
Yes.
They've got it out on that, on even a polished clip with that. And with the Cebu, the polish looks really, really nice.
It
but with
does.
the black screws and the Red G10, the black bug out clip looks super hot on this
You
guy.
can customize a mini grip on their website with the mini clip too, which is pretty sweet.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I like that they're offering it out now.
when I say mini grip, I meant to say mini Crooked River.
Okay.
Yeah, the Crooked River and even the full-size Crooked River. I've seen one variation where they were offering the bug out clip. Even I myself, now that we're talking about it, I have on order currently. As soon as I saw that this was an option and I saw other people having it, I contacted Benchmade because I'm not lazy about that. I currently have
Sometimes.
a bug out clip coming for my Pardue, and I think that's going to be a fantastic upgrade compared to.
Yeah.
I think I stole this off of my 940-1 after I put a deep carry on it. So yeah. I love the fact that they added this to this particular knife, especially for the sleek, slim design of it.
I love the fact too.
It's got deep carry too, and
Yep.
it played it good. But yeah,
But I'm very happy that they included it on the limited.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really
as
nice
a
to see.
standard, you know.
For sure.
And honestly, I'm happy that they kind of kept the changes minimal with this knife. I mean, aside from material choice.
Yeah, like it's still got the original sort of herringbone milling in the G10 there that adds a nice texture to the handle. And also really like the aesthetic of it.
yeah, and even though it's not dual layered, they're still doing the exact same pattern on it.
Yes.
So
I kind of like that.
the single pattern, yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
that carbon fiber has the same thing. It's just hard
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah.
While we're playing with it, yeah. Oh, my clip's on the wrong side because I'm.
That's
yeah.
okay. We'll flip this
No,
off.
that's weird.
Yeah.
It's okay. But yeah, you barely can see it, but mine definitely has the texturing on it as well. You
Having
know,
that
like-
being a consistent thing through the line is very nice.
That it is, yep.
Yeah.
While these are sitting up here too, you can also mention the fact that like this profile, so it's almost like full flat, will perform much nicer than as cool as this spear point is and cool looking.
The 530 rather than the 531.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Um,
aesthetically, I much prefer that blade.
Yes.
But functionally, that's
You have a
much
thing for
better.
daggers.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
As soon as I saw this and the thinness behind the edge, one of the things I'm personally debating is whether I should just buy this knife and do a blade swap on it. And Paul was harassing me a little bit about doing so because they're both very limited knives. But if I buy these knives, they're going to be user knives and not collector knives. And I know that before a penny is paid for on either one of these knives.
You're a bad person.
I choose to use, my friend.
You're the one that gives me hell for my that Endura that I have.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
That's a different use case altogether.
But also think about all the stuff in Dennis's collection that he specifically doesn't use.
That's right.
As far as the
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
collectability aspect goes,
One of 175 made.
on many, many different variations. There's green G10s that are REI right now. There's tons of different variations because Benchmade has so many exclusives with so many different major like retailers across North America, right?
In those kind of numbers, though?
Give or take, sometimes. There's 200s of this, and
Fair enough.
yeah. So I think Spyderco's in general, when you're doing a sprint run and something like a Damascus with titanium anodized, like what you have is going to be much more collectible than I think either one of these in the long shot.
That's
right.
fair.
So
But for the aspect of this being internationally available rather than exclusively to the States.
oh yeah, if you offer someone down in the States that's a hot on the Pardue series this thing and spike up the price, you can turn them over, and I'm sure
Yeah.
people will on the secondary
Yeah.
market.
More than likely, yeah.
But I like the function and in the pocket of this knife, and for me that's way more important than the collectability.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm happy that they kept as the evolution of the line continued, they're keeping in with the standard axis lock studs here. A little bit easier to actuate than these cupped were. Personally, never had much of a problem with it, but I've heard that people have had slipping issues.
And to show, we should probably throw both knives up
yeah,
there.
that's not a bad idea.
Here.
Okay, let Nigel do it.
So what Joe's talking about is on the 530s, they had very much a concave Omega spring that you grabbed, right?
And they're like dead flat with the scales. They're not protruding really at all.
Whereas the 531s actually went back to the stepped, what do you even call it, bar?
It's a
I guess?
pin
Access
access
bar?
bar. Yeah.
Rather than the cupped. And the original 531 went to that, but we're really happy that even the limited edition ones stayed true to that because it is much easier to grab, to actuate, to flip open and closed.
Much more functional, yeah.
For sure, for sure.
Guess another change I'd like to actually between these two models, they ended up chamfering the perimeter of this design as opposed to this. A little bit sharp on some of the corners here. They've definitely rounded these out.
And I think
Beautifully smooth.
huge pro for me.
Yeah.
I remember playing with the 531s, and when I did play with the 531, that was something I instantly thought is if I'm putting a really hard squeeze on it, I could feel the ridges inside my palm. It's super mild on the international one, but you can definitely tell they did a little something extra on the corners, for sure.
Just a nice little touch for sure.
And the attention to detail is well received. It's nice. It's
Exactly.
good to see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So again, adding to the premium cost of this knife, but I think that one extra step was definitely justified in it, in the cost that it has, because it's not a cheap one. It's
No.
definitely a significant step up from a normal 531 in price point. But between the exclusivity behind it,
That's
as well
exactly
as the
it.
material upgrades, as well as the extra step for rounding it out, I don't see it as a bad thing.
These clips are real expensive, bud.
They sure are.
They wouldn't send one a year ago, so
There you go.
I guess.
it's a step up in the
Touche.
in the evolution for
Yeah.
sure. So
Kind of getting into the couple little negatives that we do have. One of the main ones for me is that little area right in here. And it is nice that it allows access for the thumb studs to sit down to help keep the knife flush and be a small in the pocket package. but in the hand, I find that corner just to be fairly awkward.
A little pokey.
Yeah.
He likes a small pocket package.
To be less pokey.
To be less pokey.
I like it to be impressive when it counts.
Oh.
He almost moaned there.
Oh, I just don't even know where to go from there.
No. No.
I guess I'll say for my mileage, I actually, in my experience with that one in particular, same profile. I kind of like having that anchoring point, but my fingers aren't as wide as yours, so that might be a factor.
Like, I don't mind having the anchoring point, but maybe if they had a wider scoop out on the front side rather than having it be so angular, I would enjoy it more.
Fair enough.
And I think for a lot of us, it just happens to be that the first finger can kind of rest in there, and it's not the end of the world, right? Like
bloody things.
So again, like I can put my finger above where the choil is and grab it that way, but even when I do sink my first finger in, it locks it in a really potentially solid way, and
you bet it does.
I'm pointing right at you. So
please don't.
The chamfering, again, it helps. It's not quite as pinchy. I was just handling this one, and it's not quite.
It does help with that choil for sure.
The one thing for me, I find that when I try and get my thumb back on this, it kind of puts my pinky right in the middle of that kind of flare in the spine.
The bulbous flare.
The bulbous flare at the end of the knife. But when I want to go up onto like the blade, and I find that fairly comfortable, there is a little bit of dig in here where that like kind of scoop. I don't know, ramp.
Yeah,
ramp's probably a good word for it.
You find it digs?
I find it digs a little bit. It's not terrible, and this is not the hard use knife that it's going to matter nearly as much as like the turret.
The turret.
Yeah. But I do find that if I'm going to complain about it there, I got to say something about it here, right?
Yeah.
One other minor thing, not an issue for me. I can understand how some people might not like it. This does flare rather symmetrically on both sides. So if you're holding it in your hand like this, it will, for me, it notches in very nicely. But for some, I could see it being a bit of a hot spot.
Kind of pokey.
Yeah. Again, for me, I like it. For others, something to consider. The lanyard hole's not obtrusive in any sense of the word, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I enjoy where they put the lanyard hole. You don't have to worry about the blade cutting it even if it's loose. It doesn't conflict on the design of the knife.
No, it's way out of the way.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt it in any way to have that lanyard hole where it is, for sure. We were also dabbling on the way that the back end of this knife flared up, and not necessarily that we're going to use it a lot in this particular grip, but
probably not
in a reverse grip as well. It's a fantastic place purchase wise to be able to put your thumb if you have that situation
for fancy feather sticking.
That is some fancy feather sticking right there for sure. But with S90 you could feather stick for a long time
in that style.
And get stabbed.
It would work pretty good. So,
have we dabbled on the thumb studs at all?
We have not.
So I don't have an issue with them. I actually kind of like these small little thumb studs. But I have heard through the grapevine that there are people out there on the planet that find them a little pinchy, a little grabby on the thumb, tear you up a little bit.
And especially versus a bug out.
Yeah.
Is the comparison is because a bug out has gone back to a traditional thumb stud with a Benchmade.
Even though they're trying to save every ounce. So there was a question of why they didn't use these. But.
Yeah, as soon as I hadn't really thought about it until I was playing with this guy and I noticed the thumb studs and I was like, well, why wouldn't you put these thumb studs on the bug out to save that bit of weight?
Having said that, the bug out ones are anodized, so they're aluminum, not steel.
They're brass too. On the second version, the green ones.
Is it brass or is it
brass?
No, they look brass.
We'd have to check that.
We'll bloop
fact check
the right answer for that question there. But either way, the thumb studs themselves.
Yeah.
I'll have to say I've never had an issue of slipping off of that type of thumb stud before. I have slipped off of standard Benchmade studs, not often, but I know it's happened at least once or twice.
Yep.
Not saying that these are better in every way. They are pinchy, but I kind of like it.
And maybe Nigel, with your qualm of this finger choil being cut out, if they tried to put a normal thumb stud in, it might be cut out even more.
Yeah, they
Or
might have to change the shape a little bit
Or
more.
the footprint of the knife would stick out more, and then it gets into my realm of not liking it when it comes to the big stuff that sits wide in the pocket, right?
And yeah, like I absolutely have no issue with the thumb studs that they did choose to put on this guy. It was just more of a question of why didn't they put the little ones on the bug out?
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
But there are people out there that don't like them.
Yeah.
So
It's okay to be
for
wrong.
them. Yeah, exactly.
And then my only other thing might be a gloved hand.
Yep.
The
see that.
full-size thumb studs might be better to get some purchase on rather than the smaller ones.
Just for the
And you're not
intention
gonna-
of use
you're not
of
gonna
the
be
bug out
gloving
and
these.
stuff.
Bug
you're
out,
gonna
and now
glove
with the
that.
new bail out, and it's supposed to be more heavy-duty and hard use.
Could see that.
Yeah. Something like that, right? So, yeah, I think overall,
I think we overall like this knife fairly well.
Yes, we do.
Pretty well received.
it is passed with flying colors. Ultimately, they took something that we really, really liked and just improved on it.
Yep.
And then made it rare enough that no one in the States can get it. So, I mean,
Suckers.
like, well, yes and no. I mean, yeah, I wish we could share. I wish this could be just an upgrade and this be well received enough that they morph into something.
Mhm, that would be
Became
cool.
A standard run, like
Yeah.
even without the Red G10, I think would just be.
But it is,
X90 and carbon fiber would be cool too.
yeah.
Like,
But it is also very nice just to know that, like, yeah, there's something special for us.
yeah, we get it. Yeah.
We do like that as well.
Yeah.
So overall, I think everyone on what they ranked it, what they scored it. I might as well go first. I don't think I've gone first yet. I actually scored it an 86. It got a good solid A minus
Not bad.
for me. Yeah, honestly, I think that's the best score I've given it any knife since we've started this review.
I think so,
It
yeah.
closely beat out the Smock, which I think I gave an 82. But honestly, everything about it, in pocket, they improved on the clip to be a deep carry, the S90 steel. There's nothing for me to complain about. So honestly, I gave 8, 9s, and 10s across the board. I think that's all we could say is just it did fantastic,
Yeah.
right? So
For me, without trying to, it ended up being 8s across the board for objective and 9s across the board for personal. It got an
Hilarious.
85 and
Nice.
A minus.
Yeah.
I love this knife.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite things, honestly, is how thin this blade is, given the steel choice. Knowing how long this is going to hold an edge for.
Mhm.
It's a knife. This isn't a pry bar. This isn't a screwdriver. This is a dedicated cutting tool, and it excels at it.
Yeah.
Like, just wow.
I feel about this the same way I feel about my PPT in S90.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice and sharp and slicey and fun. I overall gave it an 82, which is a nice solid B+. So we're not very far off from everybody here.
everyone's in the 80s right now. I should
That's
say.
it.
Yeah.
It did get a couple 7s from me. I took a couple points away for getting in on this, and
It's got the
getting
turret
started.
ramp going on. The
And
little
the
mini
turret ramp, and then I was
yeah,
getting caught up on the back.
on the backside.
But
Yeah.
outside of that, I mean, I wasn't holding out a huge amount of hope for it when it first was announced. Like I was like, okay, cool. And I like it a lot more than I thought I would.
Understandably so. As per usual, it seems like I'm the harshest on everything, especially since we got this grading system in. But that being said, it got a C+, 72.
Fair enough.
It's actually the highest grade that I've given so far.
Holy moly!
Just a mean guy.
72.
Yeah. Yeah, like everyone else, it did really, really good in the objective, hits all sorts of big points. Got lots of good scores for me in the enthusiasm for it, just because of the whole international dealer exclusive, the rarity, the fact that we can get in on it, all those sorts of aspects. Major thing that it lost out on in the lowest grade or lowest points that I gave it was a 6 for ergonomic preference. Just between
This guy right here, at his double XLs, he scores a Jumbo's higher than he scores a Benchmade, just for the
Yep.
well
It just happened.
because
I
of
I know.
that little hot
It's a little
spot there, and
rusty.
it's a little tight,
And it
and
pushes your hand back, and then you can't put your pinky on it because
Yeah.
you're a monster.
This isn't
yeah.
You're a monster.
So effectively, you got your size hands. Man, you better like pinch gripping this knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's still comfortable to use, but part of where it lost a little bit of points on the ergonomic preference was how thin it is as well. I love how thin it is as far as in the pocket, and it feels really good like that, but I'd like something a little bit more hand-filling.
And for again the proportions,
For those size of
Yeah.
it makes sense. So
Mhm.
I can't really get too mad at you for scoring it 70, 72.
72, yeah.
For the meat hooks.
Which is also, again, the highest score Nigel has yet
Ever
to
given.
given a knife. Yeah.
Jeebus.
I might be a little critical. What can I say?
You have the wrong sized hands.
Just cut them off and get robot hands already.
just take the pinky off.
That's
Just
almost feasible, man.
There you go.
So I think overall, everyone really enjoyed this knife, including
Mhm.
Mr.
Pinky
not
ass.
him, but
Mega hands. over
still gave it
Mega
70s
hands.
to 80s,
The
yeah.
worst superhero name of all time.
I don't know. I think there's other ones that could be worse, but we should probably try to
Yes.
keep it a little
Right.
PG and not get into that because
Yeah.
that could be a whole can of worms.
I think on a topic of the review aspect, last but not least, again, we want to thank the Cutting Edge Cutlery Co.
Most definitely.
for
Yeah.
lending these. They are a rarity.
For getting them and then letting us
Yes.
play with them.
Across Canada, if you are having a hard time, you want to see a more refined version of a 531, check out Cutting Edge's website because I'm hoping that they do have them up for grabs and everyone can share what we're loving about this knife.
And they're not going to last long.
No.
No, only 300 made, so get on them while you can, for sure.
Mhm. And yeah, that being said, we are all definitely impressed with this knife. So check it out yourself, and not only the exclusive, but the regular version because it's a really good knife as well.
Great little knife.
Absolutely.
Beat me to buying one. That's all I'm saying. So,
And yeah, that being said, Nigel the Smith signing off.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
And I'm XL.ca.
We will catch you all again next time.
I so desperately wanted to say can of worms. That's the worst superhero name I've ever heard.
We don't need bigger knife. Yeah.